The Narada is a totally different case from all of these other ships because even though the Romulans are part of the Star Trek story, this particular character, Nero, and this ship don't exist in the canon, so we got to start fresh from that.
It starts off as a kind of a blue-collar Romulan mining ship, and during the journey becomes something, you know, a lot more terrifying.
The Romulans, they're much more emotionally based and very violent, and so it started occurring to me that it might make sense for the Narada to be very much more like an organism as opposed to a scientific industrial product. And from that, the first thought I had was the architecture of Gaudi, who himself was completely influenced by, you know, the skeleton and the bones and all of that stuff.
7-mile-long ship, massive ship, and you see the artwork and you say, okay, we have to build this. We've never built anything anywhere near that size.
So here you can see the Enterprise, 2,500 feet long, and compared to the Kelvin, which is 1,500 feet long. And then even Spock's ship, which is only 178 feet. And then compared to the Narada, which is 30,737.
It's just a massive model, you know, it is absolutely huge, and we have the best model builders in the world. You know, those guys, you know, took on that challenge.
When we build things in computers, they have to be one-to-one scale for you to get a connection to how big or how small the thing is.
So it is actually physically in units 7 miles long in the computer.
It's kind of like drawing on paper. So if I was drawing a picture of you and I drew it about this big, you would only get so much information. But if I drew you the size that you are, you would get everything, all the information that was actually there. It's why it's imperative to make things at one-to-one scale.
You got to put enough detail in there to sell the idea of how big the thing is.
And that's what sells good CG from bad CG, in my opinion. There's always scale. If it doesn't look big and it's supposed to be big, I want my money back.
Literally, a frame of the Narada might take 24 hours to generate, you know. And you look at the number of shots in the movie, it's just it's a massive task.
Scott Chambliss understands critically how much set is an extension of character. And the Narada said so much just in its physical presence about who Nero is. And when you walk onto that set and you feel the kind of dankness and the water on the floor, and you get an immediate sense of what has been going on in Nero's head for so long.
Answer my question.
No, you answer for the genocide you just committed on a peaceful...
I prevented genocide!
Well, let's get one thing straight. My ship is badass, right? I mean, it's not a hybrid, that ship. It runs on high-octane gas.
Sir, there's another Federation ship! Destroy it, too! Wait! The hull! Magnify!
The Narada was supposed to breathe and drip and ooze, and it's just part of its function as an organism in space, not literally an organism, but that sort of technology. And so we started with the notion of having all these cables and pipes that you see on the set. Those were supposed to be like the ligaments and tendons and nerves of the ship.
I love the fact that they'd gone with this whole notion of like exposed wiring and exposed everything, and it wasn't some kind of sleek spaceship where everything was concealed. I want one. You can't buy them, but I want one.
One of the things that was really clear right off the bat was, as scripted, there was no way we were going to be able to afford to build these as traditional stage sets. It was just like too big. This guy is, because of the mass of it, this is going to turn into a separate header piece. So that'll facilitate turning it over easier, and we'll have about a 28-foot run of this one. So from that point, I started thinking of the old days when I used to do Broadway shows. A wall coming in from here, a wall coming in from there, something flying in from there, and then you take the same elements and just rearrange them, and you've got a whole other set. I thought that might be the way to approach this, create anchor pieces that we just keep reconfiguring to create new spaces, and JJ totally embraced that notion right off the bat.
This is fantastic, you know? Cool. I love it.
The Narada is huge styrofoam sculpted pieces. We arranged, for example, like in the bridge configuration where there's that big cone that's going to have holograph projections coming out of it. That's how Nero runs his ship. That big cone, once we finished that set, came down, came apart, turned into walls, turned upside down, went to one side of the stage, then to another side of the stage, and we just reconfigure everything to create new spaces.
And we had to schedule the movie around it because at times it took overnight and at times it took a weekend to reconfigure all these big pieces so that they could become different sets.
So the scale of the ship is gigantic. It's so huge, especially in relation to the Enterprise. And part of the ability to do that comes from the way he designed these movable pieces, which was just genius.